Well, hey there, it's me, Kevin. What's up, all you not Kevins? I am here at Copper Hills, and I am very hopeful. We're not that far away where you get to be here at Copper Hills. I miss you guys so much. You are awesome. You are so cool. And we're getting closer and closer to having some dates where you're all going to be able to come back here and be with me. And we'll mess around, we'll laugh, we'll play all of those things. Right now, it's a crazy time. I want to remind you of why this is so important, the church. It's not just being here, but it's what we get to do while we're here. See, us, the older people and the leaders and the volunteers, we all believe in you so much. And what we want to help you with is your spiritual formation. We want to help you become rooted in Christ, to know Him, to walk with Him, to journey with Him. And of course, we're going to get into His Word, the Bible. That's our curriculum, and that's where we're going to go to help you walk through those pages, to identify how Jesus is part of every part of those stories, and that everything leads to and through Jesus. So we're excited for that. The next thing I want to tell you is I know right now you're going through a lot. Many of you have already started school, and that's pretty crazy, but you're at home doing school. And as cool as that probably sounds, you probably miss your friends and recess, if you even have recess, but lunch with your friends like crazy, right? I'm sure it's hard for your parents. I'm sure it's hard for you. Being on a computer all day, Zoom calls, trying to do your homework that way. That's not how it was ever meant to be, but that's what we're in right now. So that'll make even coming back even better. I also hope you're enjoying these videos. Of course, they're more geared towards the later childhood, and you can say the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and 6th graders, but we make them through 1st through 6th graders. We do have now, just so you know, if you have little brothers and sisters or siblings, we have an early childhood program too that they can click on, and they can start seeing messages that are made just for them. So make sure you share the message and don't leave them out, all right? But this is for you. Today's about you. I want to give you a big announcement before we get into what we're talking about today, which is we have some regathering plan dates. Now, just so you know, here at Copper Hills on August 15th and 16th will be the first weekend that adults can start coming back, but we're not going to have the family life part opened up yet. We will still have the online message next week, but we're not having the kids go into the rooms yet. The following week, we're going to do a Saturday night service and allow as many kids as we can fit. There's a certain number that we can take in, and then we have to close the rooms because of safety and security. But then the week after that, we're going to go to a Saturday and then a Sunday morning, and we'll go to 2 services for a little bit. But then about the second weekend of September, the weekend after Labor Day, we should be all open, all 3 services like normal. We're excited for that time, but we want to build up and ramp up because safety and security is important, and we want to make sure that we've got everything just dialed in just right. There's going to be a little difference when you get here of where you come in and where you go out and stuff like that, but it's still all good to get here and do those things. No matter what happens, even if there's a weekend that you can't be here throughout the year because maybe someone gets sick or you just it doesn't work out that week, I want to let you know that all year long we will continue to have online services that you can watch us and see us and hear from us. So always be looking for that. And there's also generally attachments of things like for the early childhood coloring sheets or activities or things that you can explore, extra scripture and stuff like that. It's if you're really, really adventurous and you want to do some of those things too. So look for those things. All right, are you ready to get into this series? Of course, we're talking about meeting places, and that's why I want to talk about meeting places. But we've been talking about meeting places with God. So let's get ready for that. I get desperate to see others because I think that we're relational people. We are meant to have a relationship with each other and see each other. Okay, hey, we are in week 3 in a conversation about meeting places. Specifically, where and how can you be with God? You know that God absolutely adores you. He loves you and He wants to do life with you. It's His whole plan and purpose in creation. Well, right now, today, you and I all share something. We're all going through life. I mean, that's a dumb thing to say. Of course, we're all going through life. But the difference could be this for people. Who are you doing life with? We all have different people who are in our life. Specifically, would you consider Jesus part of your story? Are you doing life with Him? Are you doing life with God? Are you even setting aside time just to meet with Him and be with Him? I hope so. Because He was not always this accessible. There was a time and a place that you couldn't be with God like this. And that's what's revealed through the pages of the Bible, where we see this amazing story of love unfold. And we go through the pages and we see how God put things together so that we could meet with him right here, right now. We're going to look back a little bit, review. In week 1, we talked through the story of Abraham and Isaac. Remember, there was a meeting on the altar and there was something requested by God that Abraham was willing to give up, but then God provided. That was crazy. Then we moved on from the altar and we went into the story of Moses and how God was rescuing and taking his people from being slaves into a place where he promised them that he would be over them and have a kingdom where he would reign. Well, on that journey, he didn't just say, I'll meet you there. Remember how he said, I will come with you. And that was where he started off in a tent, and then it got to a tabernacle, and God traveled with them. But keep in mind that God is holy. And with that, that means that nothing unclean or impure can be in God's presence. And that's why that tabernacle had 3 different areas. It had the courtyard, it had the holy, and then it had the holiest of holies. Kind of crazy, but to get access to God, there was a whole lot that had to happen to become ceremonial clean to be able to be in God's presence. He traveled with them, and yet God wasn't fully accessible in the way that we can access him today because of the sin and brokenness of the world. But God still wants to meet with us. That meeting place became available later on in the story when we start bringing Jesus into it. But today we're going to go from the tabernacle and we're going to go into the temple. The temple is very significant. And the temple came and went and came and went and then came and has not went yet. But there's a story behind the temple. The temple is so symbolic, it's so important, and it's a big part of the story. And we're going to talk more about the temple and tie all this together next week. But I have a really great video that's going to come up next from one of my favorite teachers and places to go, which is the Bible Project. These guys use such great training tools to help us understand and see God's plan and purpose. When we watch it, we can grow in wisdom and understanding. But it's difficult. There's a lot said there, and it does require more than just watching a video. It requires us to open up our Bibles, read about it, talk about it, ask questions about it. These are big things, but I'm not treating you like kids. I'm treating you as young minds who are going to be future leaders into this next generation who needs God. So I'm looking to you to really pay attention and watch this and really seek out what God's doing in these stories. There is one last thing. Before we watch this, I have a surprise for you at the end of this video, but you got to watch all the video and then don't click off, stay on, because I've got a really cool announcement surprise for you. And I'm going to give you just a taste of that. So stay tuned, let's watch this, and I'll see you on the end of it.
If you could go back to the city of Jerusalem during Bible times, the biggest thing you'd see is the temple.
This beautiful building was designed by King David and built by King Solomon, and they believed that it was the home of the God of the universe.
Wait, I thought God's home was in heaven.
Well, the whole point of this earthly temple is that it's the place that overlaps with God's heavenly home. The temple is where God lives and rules all creation as king.
That's cool, but even Solomon, who built the temple, didn't believe that it could contain the God of the universe, right?
Yeah, the building was just a symbol, and it pointed to the fact that all of creation is God's temple. And that's actually what the first page of the Bible, Genesis 1, is all about.
Really? It says that creation is God's temple?
Well, it doesn't need to say it. The whole story shows it. In Genesis 1, God creates an ordered world out of a dark wasteland by speaking in a series of 7 days. Then on the 7th day, God's presence fills creation as he takes up his rest and rule. Similarly, the tabernacle and later the temple were built and dedicated in a series of 7 speeches in 7 days, after which the priest or king could rest and rule in God's presence.
So all of creation is where God intends to dwell. It's like his temple.
Exactly. Now, turn the page to Genesis 2 and we get another portrait of creation. This one focuses in on the land. And in the center of the land is a region called Eden, which in Hebrew means delight.
And in the middle of delight, God plants a garden in which God and humanity live together.
And that's why the temple was modeled after the garden, filled with imagery of gold and flowers. The menorah symbolized the tree of life. It's the place where God dwells with his people.
Oh, got it.
And check this out. In the temple, the Israelite priests and Levites were to work and to keep the temple in God's presence. This is exactly the job description given to humanity in the Garden of Eden.
So these humans were the first priests. But instead of ruling with God, they wanted to rule on their own terms, and they're exiled from the garden temple.
And like Adam and Eve, Israel's leaders also wanted to rule on their own terms, and they too were exiled.
The temple was destroyed, and this left them wondering, did God give up on Israel? Will God bring about a new creation?
Well, the biblical prophets anticipated the day when God would create a new temple with a new priesthood. That's when God's presence would fill all of creation.
And when the Israelites returned to the land, they did rebuild the temple.
But that temple didn't turn out the way the prophets hoped. In fact, later Israelite prophets said that this temple was hopelessly corrupt.
So they're still waiting for the ultimate temple.
And here we come to the story of Jesus. He said that through him, God's presence and rule was coming into our world in a new way. And he presented himself as a new kind of priest.
But Jesus wasn't a priest, and he didn't work in the temple.
Right. Jesus said that God's presence, his rest and rule, was filling the world through his own life, death, and resurrection. Jesus was claiming that he was the true temple, and this new temple would expand out to include all of creation.
That's a really big claim.
And it got even bigger. After his resurrection, Jesus said that God's presence would come to dwell in and among his followers so that they would become mini temples.
Communities of people where God rests and rules.
Exactly. This is the Bible's vision of the church, which is described as a temple.
Not a building, but people.
Yeah, like when Peter says, "You all are living stones built up as a temple for God's Spirit to dwell."
So, at the end of the story, do we ever get a new physical temple?
Well, not exactly. What we see is a renewed cosmic temple, just like Genesis 1. And this new creation doesn't need a temple building because through Jesus, all creation is now the place where God rests and rules the world with his people.
All right, so there you go. We have learned a little bit more about the temple. This is going to take some more time. We're going to spend more time in it next week, for sure. Some things I'm just going to give away is we went from the tabernacle to the temple. And can I just tell you that these structures, they were all just symbols. And they pointed to the fact that all God's creation is the temple. And Jesus picks up on this truth. And he actually presented himself as the true temple. Can you believe that Jesus presented himself as the temple of God? That's true, he is. And he also made this bold claim that there would be a day that God's presence would come and actually dwell in his followers and not just these sacred structures. That's cool, huh? More to talk about next week. All right, but it's time for my big announcement, my big surprise. When we come back together in September, we'll have some meetings before September here, but again, when we're all full on and all three services are going, second week of September, we have good versus evil. I've said too much already, but I'm going to give you a little taste of it. Check it out.